it felt like a blessing that I had that experience, but it also felt like something I had to get back.
Yeah.
And what I later learned from all my teachers was that you never get back that same thing. You get something new, but not that.
Welcome to the Raw and Real podcast. Are you dreaming of changing your life through opening a business, or are you curious what obstacles entrepreneurs had to overcome on their journey? Then you're in the right place. My name is Agnes Bilik and I'm your host. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Raw and Real. Today's guest on the show is serial entrepreneur Peter Vermeiren. He's a trained physiotherapist and the founder of Breath for Freedom, an institute that offers breathwork and meditation in order to enter a higher state of consciousness. Hey Peter, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So you did an education as a physiotherapist, and then at some point in your life, you really started exploring topics connected to the mind, right?
Yes.
So what happened in your life exactly that you became interested in that?
Well, first of all, I was already interested in the brain when studying as a physiotherapist. I wrote my thesis on plasticity of the brain in 1991 already, which at that time there was not much known about it. There was not much research done yet. It was thought until then that when you had a set of neurons in your head, and that's what you had to do with from your age of 18, and then it was downhill from there. But of course, we know now that one of the organs that is most can change the most is your brain actually, and you can train it. And I found that fascinating, so I wrote my thesis about it. But I forgot the topic a little bit. And when I was around 30, I had my own practice. I did all the things right. You know, had my own practice, had a girlfriend for a long time, and we were supposed to get married. But it turned out to be different. So we decided not to get married. Only 2 weeks before the marriage.
What exactly happened then?
Well, in that year, we both felt like, well, maybe this is not a good idea. Maybe there was some awakening in both of us, like, maybe there's something else for us in life. And, so in the end, we said, well, let's not do this. And, a wise old friend of mine, who lived around the corner, he said to me, Peter, you should go alone on your honeymoon. I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not something that's not something you do, right? Well, he said, well, book another ticket to somewhere else, but take your backpack and go alone. So I went into Malaysia. I flew to Singapore, took the train, and I walked around there, and immediately I felt a sense of freedom. And I thought, well, this is probably the right decision that we didn't do this. And
was it the first time that you were on vacation also alone?
Yes, which was exciting, daunting as well,
but also scary in a way. I can imagine.
Yeah, it's really daunting, really scary. Yeah. But within a few days, I felt really comfortable and met a lot of nice people. When you travel alone, have you traveled alone? I don't know.
Not really.
No?
Like not for a week somewhere alone completely.
Yeah.
Not like that.
Yeah. But you're much more open to meeting people. So you meet a lot of people, and it was a very nice experience. And one day I was in my guest house, and there was a guy in the morning sitting on a stone and meditating. And he looked like a normal guy like me. You know, and so I related to him, and I said, what did you do actually? And he said, well, meditating. And I didn't know anything about meditation or spirituality. I was very rational and very scientific. But I was fascinated anyway. So, well, he said, well, I just follow my breath. And when I get distracted, then I follow my breath again. I count my breath. And I thought, well, that sounds quite easy. So maybe I could try that one day. And I was fascinated with it. And the next day I went into the jungle with a nice Australian girl, and we talked on the way, and it turned out she was a meditator as well. So okay, that's. We went up the hill, and on the hilltop there was a bamboo plateau, and where you could look over the jungle. So it was a really beautiful, nice spot, trees all around, and in an ancient jungle there in Malaysia. And we sat on the plateau, and I closed my eyes and started following my breath. And within minutes, my whole perspective changed, which was so surprising to me because I never have felt that before.
And how long did you meditate, so to speak?
Only minutes, like 5 minutes. But within 2 minutes, I was already like heaven came down for me. And looking back, I just didn't sit still for once in my life. I was always busy, did a lot of sports. I worked a lot, so 50 hours a week. So this was like a transition for me from being very busy, having a bit of a rough time before that, feeling that freedom, traveling, and then sitting still. It was like, I think, the perfect switch to a different mind state, looking back. But I didn't know what happened. So, and I looked around and I felt totally one with the trees. Everything was greener. The sky was more beautiful. I felt total self-acceptance, total warmth, for myself, for the girl I was with, for everything actually. And we walked down the hill, and the leaves under my feet looked like perfect, and the trees were perfect, and the smell and everything was so intense, and I felt totally happy. And I came down at the guest house, and normally I was quite closed. I didn't talk that quickly to people, but then people walked up to me and started talking and telling their whole life story. And some guy was sitting next to me, and he even started crying and telling his whole life story. I thought, what is happening here? This is strange. This is not me, you know? And I traveled on and met a lot of people, and I kept that feeling. And people were nodding at me at train stations and at the airport.
And did your own behavior change, or was it just that you had a certain energy around you?
I did not that I felt, no, I didn't do anything else. I just traveled around and did my thing, and I was just happy. I felt differently, totally, but I did not do anything differently. At least, I don't know, no. But I felt really open, really. Everyone I looked at, like I had a connection with, and I think people feel that. And then so life opened up for me. My mind opened up for me, actually, which was beautiful. And I went back to Holland, started working again, and within 2 weeks it was gone. And I thought, what happened? I don't know. I want to keep it. I want to have it back, you know. And I was really sad, and I went into a bit of a depression actually after that. Like, what happened? I want to have that back. So I went into those spiritual bookshops I never went to before.
Yeah.
And found some books on Buddhism and on Hinduism and on meditation, and read about enlightenment experiences, which felt like similar. Not that I was enlightened, but I had some kind of a peak review, I think, of what it could be, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And
at this point, didn't you just try to sit still again and close your eyes and breathe to get that feeling back?
Yeah. Actually, I did it for a few times, but it wasn't that easy anymore. I think the circumstances, the set and setting were perfect at that moment. Also, the time up to that was perfect, and I was too restless after that to come back to it. And it felt like a blessing that I had that experience, but it also felt like something I had to get back.
Yeah.
And what I later learned from all my teachers was that you never get back that same thing. You get something new, but not that. But it took me, I think, about 8 years to realize that I wouldn't get that back. I wanted that back, that same experience.
And didn't you go back traveling to Malaysia to that same spot?
No, it's not about the spot. No, it's about something in yourself. I think I realized it's not about that spot, because I went there again like 10 years or 12 years later, and no, it wasn't the same, of course, because I've changed. The whole environment has changed. The circumstances have changed. My inner self has changed. So you never get the same feeling back, and that's always Yeah, that's something I've learned, that you have to go with the flow. And if you are in the moment, then things open up. But I had to learn that because I thought, I want that experience. That's my experience.
That must have been really frustrating as well.
Terrible.
To search
Terrible.
for that.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah, it was really hard. And sometimes I went on meditation courses, of course, and did yoga and mindfulness meditation, and eventually found a Buddhist teacher, which I followed for a long time. And sometimes these peaks came back, and then it went away again. But it was always a little bit different. And sometimes there were intense experiences again. But it only after a lot of years, actually. So that was my starting point of my spiritual journey, and I've learned a lot since then. Yeah, it's about 21 years ago now, and yeah.
And when was the first time that you discovered breathwork? Because then you started going into meditation, and
that's interesting. I did like really traditional Buddhist meditation, and in this meditation you don't manipulate your breath, or hardly manipulate your breath. You just you sit still, and then you follow your breath going in and out, and you just are aware of what is your breath at this moment. Could be superficial, could be tense, could be anything, but you just are aware of what it is. And if it changes, it changes, but you don't actively change it. That's the instruction with traditional meditation. In yoga, I did some pranayama exercises, but not the really intense ones. So I knew some breathing exercises, of course. But only 2 years ago, I was on a festival where I did a really intense breathwork session for the first time. And that really opened up the possibilities of the breath even more, from this intense breathwork to really subtle pranayama techniques.
And for the people that never really heard about this topic before, could you explain it a little bit and what's different compared to normal breathing?
If you look at holotropic breathwork, which is the founding name, it's developed by Stanislaf Grof, a psychiatrist, who did research into psychedelics, LSD, in the 1950s and 60s, guided a lot of patients into LSD trips, I think about 6,000 or so. So he had a lot of experience with that. Went to the United States to do more research, and then in 1971 or 72, there was a cut down of all the LSD research. The war on drugs started by Nixon, and he had to stop his research. So he was searching for methods to find that same altered state, that same mind state as you have in LSD. And he found this breathing technique, and he developed it into a method called holotropic breathing, which is like a 2.5 hour deep breathing session.
Can you give us a short overview of how that session is structured?
Well, there are different types of deep breathing techniques. They all have the same, a few things in common. Like holotropic breathing is 2.5 one-on-one sessions, but the factor in common of all the deep breathing techniques, the one is called rebirthing or cyclic breath. There are different types of breathing, Wim Hof breathing. They all have this connected breathing in common. So they all have the method of breathing in and breathing out and continuously doing that. So you do like, and you don't have a pause behind the out breath, which normally you have. When you breathe out, there's a little pause, and then you breathe in again. So it's continuous breathing. This is the common factor in all those breathing methods. And some methods do it for 30 minutes, and Wim Hof does it for 3 times 30 or 4 times 40, with breath retention in between, and other methods do it for 1 hour. And I feel the most important thing is this continuous breath, where you really change the chemistry in your body and change the energy in your body. You fill yourself up with oxygen, and really change the homeostasis in your body, which is normally very, very stable. Yeah.
And can you describe us what your experience was like during your first session?
Oh, that was funny. I was so surprised because I was meditating for a long time. So I thought, well, I've had some nice, deep experiences. Um, and I didn't expect much of it. Just, I was at a festival, and it was a really nice festival. We had a spiritual village, nice. It was a music festival and a spiritual festival as well. And in the morning, we went to all kinds of spiritual practices. And one of them was this breathing session with wonderful Eva Kassor. I'm still very much, I have a lot of gratitude for her work still, because she introduced me to this. She will be here at the 1st of February in Markantina doing a breathwork session before a party.
Oh, this
is what she does. She works with DJs all over the world and does breathwork sessions at Burning Man, and she's really really good. Yeah. So I went to one of those sessions with her, and we started breathing, sitting up with about 80 people in a tent, and after 30 or 40 minutes of breathing, we did that on loud music, and it was really nice atmosphere. And after 30 or 40 minutes of breathing, I heard somebody screaming, and I fell over. I was sitting up, and I fell over to my left side, and I realized the scream was coming from myself. It was like an animal scream that I never heard before, coming from me. That was quite interesting. And at the same time, I felt something opening up in my chest. All the love and pain I ever felt in my chest seemed to come out of my throat. It was a feeling like that, and which was surprising. There was always something blocked here still in my chest, and it seemed to open up like a stone that broke.
Did you feel like a certain tension there, or?
Before, yeah, there was always something blocking my heart. We build little walls around our hearts, and I opened up more and more in the years, but there was still some stone that was still there, and it seemed to break. And that was a feeling I had, like breaking of a stone. And after the session, we laughed and cried. There were friends around me, and we laughed and cried, and it was really beautiful. And I had this really deep meditative feeling, this meditative state, which I recognized from going on a retreat for days. Most of the times it took me like 3 to 4 days to reach that same meditative state. And now it was within 40 minutes, or maybe it was total of 50 or 60 minutes. I don't remember exactly. And it was, I thought, this is interesting. I want to know more. So I really dived into all the theory behind it. I read Stanislaf Grof's books, listened to podcasts.
And how has your inner world changed since that experience?
Well, for me, it is like, first of all, I became a better meditator.
Mm-hmm.
I can bring myself quicker into a meditative state with using my breath. That's one thing. The other thing is I opened up even more than I did before. So it seemed to have released the blockages in my body and in my emotions.
And how do you feel that you opened up more? Can you describe that a bit?
It's like dropping into yourself. There's no fear anymore. It's like being open and not fearing any judgment anymore. So it's fearless. That's the main feeling. And fearless not from from an aggressive standpoint, but from fearless just for whatever comes. It's okay. And it's also I had some which I felt were like old injuries. I did a lot of sports in my day, and still do, but I did a lot of running, and I played rugby before, and there was still some old injuries in my body. And when doing breathwork for the last 2 years regularly, all the stuff just went away. There's nothing blocking me anymore in my body. And that's just by doing one breathwork session a month, and doing some light sessions for myself, doing some meditation on the breath, and It really feels like loosening up.
And how long did that take for you to experience that? What kind of time frame?
I think it's a lifelong process. It's an ongoing process. I've been doing it for 2 years now, and really, really dived into it and really did it a lot. And because I felt it was so beneficial, and also because it made me a better meditator. So I did a lot of deep sessions and a lot of smaller sessions for myself, which slowly new things open up. It loosens my body, but also new levels of my mind revealed itself. So yeah, we can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
And can you describe that deeper a little bit?
Yeah, I can only, of course, explain from my own experience. There's also a scientific explanation for it. Maybe I could start with that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. You know, in your brain, you have the region called the default mode network, which has been in scientific research for the last 10 or 15 years, I think. And recently it came up more into scientific research by, for example, Imperial College. When they researched the effect of psychedelics, which is similar to what happens with breathwork, they found that this default mode network, which is a network which is like the beaten path in your brain, where you may have noticed that you have a lot of the same thoughts and a lot of the same feelings, and so you have a certain way of doing, a default way of doing and thinking, and that's because your brain has to be efficient. You know, I think 60% of our energy goes to our brain. So the brain needs to be energy efficient. So it has certain beaten paths, certain neurons do the same thing every time because they are connected. So when you do breath work, your default mode network activity goes down. And that means that other neurons have the chance to connect again. So you make new connections in the brain. And also your subconscious has the chance to come up. So when you shut down your default mode network or make the activity a bit less, your subconscious mind comes up, new connections start to reveal itself, and you get new ideas, you get new insights, and that's also what happened with me. Yeah. So you get one of my first experiences, for example, what happened when I was doing a course here in Amsterdam after my first experience, was that I was lying on the ground and I was breathing, and first I had some visuals, colors, that kind of stuff. Of course, also the physical sensations that you may have noticed in the breathwork session that we did this morning.
Tickling in your body.
Tickling in the body and your feet and in your face. And sometimes you feel energy through the whole of your body. That's where it starts with. And then you get the visuals, and sometimes emotions come up. And what happened to me was that there was like a white light. Everything went white. And within that white light, I saw somebody looking at me, and it was not like a dream or a thought. It was like somebody was really there, and it was a guy with a beard, nodding at me.
Was it a known person or someone completely?
No, I didn't know it. No, I didn't know it. This was just friendly nodding. Really friendly guy. Really, really relaxed, friendly beard. I think he looked about 50 or so. I don't know. And he was nodding at me, and all of a sudden he changed into a really beautiful woman, about the same age, with blonde hair and really bright eyes, and she came towards me. It was literally like a vision, like it really happened, you know. It's just something different than a dream. And she came towards me and looked me straight in the eyes, and she smiled, and then she changed into myself.
Oh wow.
And then I saw myself as beautiful as they two were. So they were like really angelic looking, beautiful, compassionate people laughing at me. And then they showed me myself as I could be, you know, the most
the best version of
compassionate
yourself.
person I could be. Yeah. So And that was really impactful. Yeah, like, wow. Okay, that's me. That's my deep me. Yeah, yeah. It showed me what was possible in my mind. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how have your thoughts changed since that experience? And your perspective overall?
I have more positive thoughts. So the negative thoughts are getting less and less. I must say, I have a history of having negative thoughts, of ruminating a lot, especially under stress. In this time of year, in the winter, I was a bit down and sometimes even depressed.
And
I feel that is gone.
And what kind of negative thoughts did you have back then?
Self-judgment. Yeah, a lot of self-judgment. Yeah. Putting the bar very high for myself and then not reaching it and then judging myself and all doing it myself. Nobody does it for you. You know, self-judgment you do yourself. And that's something I feel has become much less negative thoughts, seeing more the positive side of things, and also trusting your deeper self, that you can trust. Well, that sounds a bit spiritual, but you can trust the universe, or trust your deeper self. It'll be all right, whatever happens. You know, we live in a time that everything is really easy, comfortable. We can trust. We can eat. We have a roof over our head. What are we complaining about? What will come will come. You know, so that gives a lot of peace and a lot of patience, a lot of rest, and that's what it brought me. It gave me a view of my deeper self and some rest. Because when I was meditating for the first years, that's maybe a good example, is that I was watching my mind. You know, that's what you learn. You watch your mind, you watch your thoughts, and I was the watcher. I thought that was it. So, you know, I'm the watcher. That's it. And during a session, I noticed something different. There was something behind I could even trust. So I wasn't only the watcher. I was part of something deeper even.
Mm-hmm.
And in Buddhist terms, it's called, you know, your thinking mind. It's your gross mind. And the watcher is like the subtle mind. And then behind it is that the really subtle mind, the very subtle mind. So you have these 3 levels. What Jung would call the collective subconscious. So, yeah. And I discovered that. That's something there that you can trust. And still it's difficult, but you want to control things, you want to do things to make things right, but if you overthink things, it doesn't work that way. You just have to trust the process, have patience, and still do things, but from another perspective. You know, so that's.
And how long did it take for you to discover that as well?
20 years.
Wow, that's a long
and I'm
time.
Still discovering. I'm a slow learner. Some people discover it much faster. Some people I never discover it. Some people discover it when they're dying. And some people, I don't know. I'm not there yet. No, you know, you discover new things always. And, you discover deeper things in the mind. But it's such a beautiful process. Every time you discover something new, it makes you more happy. It makes you more satisfied. And then you lose it again and you get frustrated, and then you come back again and you get a little bit deeper. But I feel the breath has helped me a lot to go deeper in a faster way. So, yeah. Meditation is still my main practice. It's something that stabilizes things and puts things in perspective and helps me internalize things. But the breathwork sessions really help me to integrate those experiences with meditation. So that's what I feel that's why I feel it's a nice combination also to teach. Like we did this morning, do the meditation, do the breathwork, and then do the meditation again. Yeah.
And when you decided to go full-time into it, because you were a digital health consultant for a while as well, right? And
yeah, digital health, yeah.
And then it was for you in the last 1.5 years that you really decided to go full into breath?
Yeah, that's true. I'm still into digital health. I'm still into projects. I'm working with a breathing app person at the moment, so that's interesting. So it combines my breathing experience with my digital health experience. But it pulled on me for the last 10 years. I did mindfulness lessons. I gave my mindfulness lessons to people, to teachers, and to chronic pain patients. I did that before. So it pulls on me, and I felt that was the most beautiful thing I could do. And also when I was most in my own element when I was giving those meditation and mindfulness teaching. But yeah, you know how it goes. You also have to have a job that pays the bills, and I find digital health still very interesting because it can really democratize healthcare and help more people if we do it in the right way.
And what was the main reason that was like holding you back, not to go full into it, because it was pulling on you as well? Like, yeah,
that's an interesting question. You know, it feels like a coming out. Spiritual coming out, like being gay and then coming out, but now in a spiritual way. It's like you have for a lot of friends to say, well, yeah, that's you, of course, you know, what coming out? You already see you like this, but for me, it still feels like a spiritual coming out that you are just going to, or not just, but mainly focus on spiritual work. Yeah.
Do you think that's also connected to the fear of judgment of others?
Of course, yeah. Because when I work on very rational projects, you know, scientific projects with very rational people,
yeah,
and which is perfect. It's okay, you know. And sometimes I think, well, what would they think about it? Yeah, that's something that would, like, it's two worlds, but at the same time, I feel the more I open up about it, people say, no, it's something you can do both, you know, it's not something that is or you can do very rational scientific work and at the same time have very deep spiritual practice and maybe teach it also. So, and to find that combination is really wonderful. So, yeah, a few weeks ago, someone from a breathing app called me because of my digital health work and didn't know I did the breathwork. So we sat this week actually and talked about that beautiful app with a wearable that measures your breath. Yeah, and how it comes together. So it's really nice. Yeah.
And what helped you in general overcome like that fear, so to say, and really come out and be like, hey, that's who I am. That's what I want to do. Because I think that's also...
It's a process where you just open up and then you notice that people actually connect better with you because you're yourself and you connect better with yourself. So it becomes easier and easier. And as I said, the fear is going away. Fear of judgment is going away. Yeah. And also the fear of judging myself.
And what do you think was your main realization that really shifted your perspective on life?
The first one was the big shift, the one I told about. That was the big shift. Go from 0 to 100 in 5 minutes. Now I have a lot of realizations the last year or so.
Maybe you can share some of them.
I was in a Buddhist retreat in October, which was a White Tara retreat, very traditional, at a Buddhist temple in Belgium, in Hue. And there are two lamas there, the real deal, one from Sikkim and one from Bhutan. And we did this traditional practice for 1.5 hours. You had an instruction on Saturday how to do it. You visualize things, and you visualize white light, and Amitabha Buddha, and the Tara, and you do a mantra. And you do that for 1.5 hours. The whole practice, visualizing and the mantra. You do that 5 times a day. So it's 7.5 hours of this same practice.
It sounds
for 5
really,
days.
really intense.
And I was so bored after a while. Like, oh my God, I know breathwork is easier and breathwork is faster. And I was a bit judgmental about it. I was in that temple for 7 hours a day. And I was like, what am I doing here? And sometimes it was nice. I was really into it. And sometimes I just wanted to run away. I was really fighting with my own impatience. But still I did it. And after 5 days, I went home. And I thought, wow, yeah, I feel really good. I'm really relaxed and good that I did this. And but still had some judgment about the efficiency of the method, you know. I thought it's good when you are a monk and you sit in your monastery for the rest of your life. You have all the time in the world to do these practices, but I don't have all the time in the world. But a few days later, we had to visualize this white light. A few days later, I was sitting on a terrace with my wife, and this white light came up, and I was really surprised. Like it was like the white light I had in the breathwork session before, and all was very clear all of a sudden. I had no thoughts, and I started discussing really difficult stuff where we normally have fights about. And all was so very clear. I was so compassionate and loving. We could discuss everything. And while we were discussing it, my wife felt it also. So we were in this same mind space together. We could discuss anything from this light of love and compassion. So I thought, well, maybe this lama's got me anyway. Which was, a beautiful experience. It's just, then again, as the teachers say, it's just an experience. It goes away, and go sit and meditate again. So, but that's one experience I can share. Yeah.
Do you have the feeling that these experiences are getting more frequent?
Yeah, and deeper also. Yeah, also that I can sometimes step in and out of them a little bit. Gets more in control.
And in general, before you mentioned that breathwork can be similar to certain psychedelics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you happen to have any experience about that?
Yeah, I because I read a lot about it after the breathwork experience. I looked into the research, and also in the book Stealing Fire, for example, there's a lot of things about psychedelics as well. And I read Michael Pollan, of course, How to Change Your Mind, and I was really fascinated, of course. So I tried truffles as a microdose, and it was really interesting because it felt like a little bit of an ego dissolvement therapy. You know, it loosens you up a little bit, and gives you more insights, and makes you more creative, gives you more mental energy. So I did this protocol where you go 2 days off, you take it for 2 days, and then 1 day off, 2 days, and then 1 day off. Mm-hmm. And then I tried 5 days on and 2 days off, which is a different protocol. It's interesting, but I also thought, well, if the research into psychedelics and breathwork is similar, or the effects on the brain are similar, I developed like a protocol in breathwork microdosing, which I'm experimenting with now. So everything I think of, read about it, try to experiment, and then before I teach it. So what I'm doing now is I do like 2 deep breathwork sessions a month for myself, which is like a macro dose of psychedelics.
So that takes like 3 hours then, or how long?
No, 1.5 hours or so. 1.25, 1.5 hour. In which I go really deep. And my daily exercise is maybe it's something we could do later. This is my daily microdose of breathwork, where I first sit and meditate on focused attention, where you just follow the breath, the basic mindfulness. Then you do 3 cycles of 30 breaths with the breath retention, breathing out, breathing in, like we did this morning.
Yeah.
And then after that, I sit in open awareness until distractions come back, and then I start following the breath again. So that's the protocol I do now every morning. And I see that as a microdose of breathwork. So that's, I call it, breathwork microdosing. So you don't have to take any illegal substances. You can just use your breath.
And what do you think is the best way to implement this in our daily lives?
That's also a big topic. Yeah. Because I have experience with teaching mindfulness. And when you do it, it's one-on-one effective. If you, as they say, if you take the medicine, it's always effective. But you have to keep taking the medicine, and you have to find the discipline. For my own meditation practice, I know in the beginning you're very enthusiastic and you do it for a few weeks or months, and then you forget a bit about it, and then all of a sudden 6 months are passed and you didn't meditate at all. I think the apps are wonderful to help you keep meditating, like Headspace and Calm and Insight Timer are really wonderful to help you. But still, it's difficult. When you speak to people, there are very few that have the discipline to continuously keep doing it. That's the mindfulness. With breath, I find it much more easy to keep the discipline and to do it, because it's so, you feel an immediate effect. With mindfulness also, but it's more subtle, I think. And with breathing, you feel more energized immediately. When you do this 3 times 30, for example, you immediately feel more energized. You immediately can drop into your meditation more easily. And your day looks different. I even do 1 breath sometimes as a meditation now, where breath is really central in my meditation. And it makes me, as I said, it made me a better meditator and more disciplined meditator. Yeah.
Could you maybe show us such a short exercise that someone could practice for a not long time, basically?
Mm-hmm. So one exercise, which is not a deep breathwork exercise, but what really helpful is what I call the 3 brains meditation. And as you know, we have a big neural network in our head, our brain, but we also have a neural network around the heart and in the gut. And you could say that those places are like intelligence centers in our body. So we have an intelligence center in our gut, and in our heart, and in our head. And if you balance them out, use them all 3, you're probably going to make better decisions and maybe be even a bit more intelligent in your decision making. So I developed a breathing exercise where you integrate those 3 regions. So let's try that. Yeah? All right.
Sure.
Okay. So first what you're going to do is just sit straight. Have a straight back. And find a meditation posture. Could be either cross-legged or on a chair with your feet on the ground. And this posture is important because you are sitting in a way that you can breathe through your belly and your chest. So with a straight back. And as they say, with a strong back and an open heart. That's a symbol of this posture. So what you do is first you start noticing your breath. You feel where your breath is in your belly or in your chest. You feel the breath rising your belly, rising your chest a little bit, or maybe just the belly. And then you concentrate on the belly itself. You bring all your attention and your breathing into your belly. Your awareness is with the breath in your belly. And you can notice sometimes subtle energies in the body, or maybe it's really relaxed, maybe it's something blocked somewhere in the belly. And sometimes there's an emotion there. You can notice. And you just notice what is there without changing it. You just breathe into it. And then you let go of the attention of the belly and bring the attention up to the heart. And you do the same thing. You breathe into the heart region. And just notice what is there. It could be anything. Just breathe into whatever you are feeling. You breathe fully in, fully out. And then you bring your attention up to the head. And you imagine breathing into your head when you breathe in. And out of your head when you breathe out. So you cycle up and down when you breathe in, into the head, out of the head. So you give this busy head some breathing attention. You're not thinking about it, you're just breathing into your head. Now let go of the attention of the head. And now we start breathing in fully from the belly, through the chest, into the head. And then down again, through the chest, through the heart, into the belly. You breathe in through the belly, through the heart, into the head. And down again, integrating those three intelligence regions in your body. Connecting them with your breath. And let go of the methods and slowly open your eyes. That's the quick version.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for that.
I modified it a bit from an exercise I learned from Ram Dass, one of my main teachers, who recently died at a very old age. He's a beautiful teacher, beautiful human being, and I listened to one of his podcasts, and he talked about an exercise where you breathe into your first chakra, and then your second chakra, and then your third, and your fourth, so up to your heart, and then in your throat, and then in the sixth one between your eyebrows, your third eye, and then the one going up to the universe. And I modified it a little bit, where when I was running, I was supposed to run a marathon of Amsterdam a few years ago, and I modified it by breathing from my feet, from the earth, up to my crown of my head, breathing in and breathing out while I was running. Yeah.
So you imagined that more, like your feet and feeling your entire body?
Yeah. I on the rhythm of my breath while I was running, I was imagining breathing up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing the marathon, and I started doing the breathing, and it went very well. And actually, it felt very good because I slowed down my breath. Normally, when you run, you breathe very fast, but I slowed down my breath, and I kept breathing up and down, and I could concentrate very well that day, and I could stay with my breath. And after about 10 kilometers, I was looking at my watch, and I was running like 1.5 kilometers faster than I usually did, and I wasn't getting tired. And after 15 kilometers, I was I was getting very, very high from only this breathing.
Oh wow!
And I wasn't getting tired. And at the half marathon, the halfway, I was running like 10 minutes faster than my fastest time on my half marathon time. So I was really surprised, but I kept breathing and kept doing it, and I ran really, really. I kept running quite fast. I was also starting to worry because I was going much faster. I thought I'm going to crash somewhere, but I didn't get tired, and I was in this tunnel of energy, this tunnel of breath, while doing this cyclic breathing. And after 36 kilometers, my legs started to hurt, of course, because I was running much too fast that I was used to. And I couldn't keep the breathing anymore, so the last 6 kilometers were really hell. But still, it was a beautiful experience. And eventually I ran like 30 or 40 minutes faster than what was it? Yeah, I thought I would run around 4 hours, and I was 3:24 I was in. which was much too fast for my normal stamina. So that was also a really deep breathing experience, which was very practical. So I think in sports, as you see now, that the breath has become much more important as well, for not only for peak performance, but also for the importance of recovery. And that's something that the breath can really help. I think top athletes with. So yeah.
All right, perfect. Yeah. Do you still have like a last takeaway for us and personal insight that helped you grow somehow?
Life is an experiment, and it's an experimental play actually, with which we are in. And we can, if you see everything as an experiment and just as some way to learn, tension goes away. It's just part of the process, and we're all on this crazy journey as human beings. And I think if we can just experiment with life and with yourself and with each other in a compassionate way, we are able to grow into something really beautiful. So that's what came up now. Yeah.
So try out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, try out a lot of stuff. Yeah, and follow your gut, follow your heart, follow also your head, of course. Yeah.
All right. How can people contact you?
They can find me on my website, breathoffreedom.nl, breathoffreedom.nl, or via Facebook personally, or Breath of Freedom, or Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, but I don't do a lot on Twitter at the moment. Just the usual social media channels on my website.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you showing us the exercises and sharing your story. And for everyone who's watching or listening, I hope you got a lot of value out of today's talk. And if you did, make sure to like the video and comment below what your favorite insights were.